We look forward to a strong game. It definitely is going to be exciting, nationally televised, and for the right to go to the Celebration Bowl, there's a lot on the line. The Southwestern Athletic Conference is as strong today as it has been in quite some time. 6 years ago, we had the institutions having to give money back to the SWAC just so we could make payroll and pay the light bills. I'm pleased to say that we are now in a position to where the SWAC is the most funded FCS conference in the nation. In addition, we were able to distribute back to the institutions over the past 2 years a little more than $28 million, which is more than any other FCS conference in the nation. So as we continue to grow and as we continue to build, we're trying to integrate ourselves in every aspect of intercollegiate athletics. For the first time in over 2 decades, our chairman of the board, Dr. Quentin Ross, he now sits on the Division I NCAA Board of Directors, which means that every decision that comes through the NCAA, the SWAC will have a vote. We now have 28 individuals on NCAA committees, whether that's academics, whether that's compliance. So as we have these issues that arrive in the past, we did not have any representation. SWAC has representation at every level within the NCAA, up to and including the Division I Board of Finance, where the $1.3 billion that is allocated, again, Dr. Quentin Ross is on that subcommittee. So we have integrated ourselves and we've continued to grow and build. So as you see, all of this movement within Division I, where conferences are starting to fold, the Southwestern Athletic Conference is as strong today as it has ever been. We continue to lead in attendance 48 years out of the last 49 years, and that has helped us. So thank you to Southern University. Thank you to Grambling State and all of the SWAC fans. That is the reason why we are as strong as we are today. So your conference is strong, and we're going to be here for another 100 years. As it relates to the House settlement, I know you've heard a lot about the House settlement. This is name, image, and likeness. And ultimately what that means is it's going to be allowable for institutions now to be able to give name, image, and likeness money directly to their student athletes. So what does that mean for Southern University? That means that there's going to be an influx of student athletes that are going to be looking for name, image, and likeness payments, where you normally would have to go get a sponsor, a Dodge sponsorship or a Chrysler sponsorship, what have you. You can now do that directly. This is going to come into effect once the judge passes all of the tests. And there are a couple of tests, there are a couple of challenges, but we're thinking in April, and this is going to be in effect for the upcoming fall year. So as you know, we have a patchwork of state laws. We have 50 states with 50 different laws about name, image, and likeness. All have to be on the outside. Now they're coming inside. What does that mean? We already have one institution within the Southwestern Athletic Conference have committed name, image, and likeness dollars to their student athletes, which means that you're now getting ready to compete for that quarterback, where you were competing against, let's say, Southeastern Louisiana or McNeese State on the field. You're now getting ready to compete in the recruiting, and you're gonna need to be able to have some name, image, and likeness dollars set aside. In addition to that, the settlement was $2.8 billion. Now that $2.8 billion will not go to the SWAC student athletes that participated in the sport of football and basketball. It's gonna go to those FBS Power 5 athletes. So those that are already in the NFL getting paid millions of dollars, they're getting ready to get another $2.8 billion. The Southwestern Athletic Conference contribution to that $2.8 billion is $30 million. Even though we didn't have anybody participating in FBS and we did not participate in sharing of those dollars. Southern University's portion of that is going to be $3 million over the next 10 years. So some of the revenue that you're getting from the NCAA, some of the revenue that you've gotten from the NCAA is going to go away. So I'm here to say there's going to be some challenging times from a financial standpoint. I want the board to kind of understand what this means. And the last part of this, and as I take my seat, we're getting ready to do away with what we call full scholarships as far as scholarship limitations are concerned. So in FCS at your football team, you can give up to 63 scholarships. That's getting ready to go away. We're getting ready to go to roster limits now. So football, the roster limit is going to be 105. Baseball is going to be 35. So you can give up to that, or you can stay where you are, and schools are going to have an option to opt in and opt out. So we're going to develop a best practice memo document that we're going to give to all of the presidents and chancellors to kind of help you guide. I'll be here as a resource, but kind of want to let you know that we are in a really good spot from a revenue standpoint. We're going to be just fine, but it is going to take some additional effort. We're going to have some name, image, and likeness dollars on the inside. We'll work with you to help develop that, but make no mistake about it. We are on top, and we're going to continue to stay on top. And as I take my seat, I do want to say a couple of things about Grambling State University. Mr. President, President Gallo is the reason why I am commissioner of the Southwestern Athletic Conference. So I always like to give a public thank you for having confidence in me, seeking me out, and guiding me through the process. And I will say about President Martin LaMelle, he is the right person for Grambling State University. There could not have been a better person hired for the presidency of Grambling State, but as good as he is as an administrator, he is equally talented and equally, I'm trying to think of the right adjective. He is as good of a person individually as he is as an administrator. There could not be a better administrator, a better person to lead Grambling State. And with the help of President Gallo, the reaction that I heard from this board about the excitement of the legislature, Grambling State, Southern University working together for the state of Louisiana, both institutions are going to win. So thank you for your time, and I look forward to seeing you on the gridiron tomorrow.
I think the president wants to comment, but here's why we're in a good space. The stars are lining up. Even with the challenges, we have the capacity now like we've never had it before. So I'm excited, and nothing you share with me today that leads me to believe that we're not doing anything other than moving in the right direction. So thank you again, Mr. President.
Thank you, Commissioner McClelland, for articulating the good shape that the SWAC conference is in financially now. But we'd be remiss to not identify you as the driving force and leadership of making that happen. And so I didn't want you to walk away giving us that good news and a little bit of bad news without acknowledging that your presence as the commissioner has been the difference maker.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Mr. Attorney Rutledge.
And while I currently chair the athletic committee, I don't know how much longer I'll be chairman. But
Told you we get along.
I would hope that the chairman-elect at some point, and that you would be receptive, Mr. Commissioner, in the days ahead as the judge finalizes all of the details regarding the House decision and what institutions can do in terms of directly hiring student athletes and what all that means, that you would be receptive to coming back to our board to sort of give us an update in terms of what those decisions are in the future.
Yes, sir, absolutely. It'll be my pleasure. A lot of this is still unknown. Even at the FBS level, there's going to have to be a lot of give and take, but we're going to be, again, on the front end. And as I get the information, I'll be more than happy to work with you.
And I know you're sensitive to this, but particularly for resource-challenged institutions like Southern, I think there ought to be, in Grambling, and in the conference, there ought to be some special dispensations made such that we are given a fair opportunity to compete.
Yes, sir. You know, that's, one of the things that we talked about before. They were paying student athletes, just not on top of the table, right? At least this gives us an opportunity to get into the game and be able to get those resources to the student athletes that are deserving. And I think that it's going to actually help us as a conference, because if we continue to rise as we are, not only nationally, but from a publicity standpoint, from a revenue standpoint, we're going to be able to out-recruit our FCS peers. And again, if we continue to stay together as a Southwestern Athletic Conference, and I think that's been one of our bigger strengths, this Black college with the bowl game and playing each other. And, there was a lot of, well, does Southern play Jackson, if it's not a conference game. We see that those games are one of the bigger games that we would have. The revenue is continuing to flow in. We have a unique opportunity if we stay together to be able to be a driving force. And I think we're going to be able to out-recruit our other FCS peers. So I think that's a good point, and we'll continue to work with you on it.
I want to recognize a guy that's kind of been ahead of this conversation. And he and the athletic chairman well aware of what's going on. And I think he's bringing that energy with him as he takes the helm. Attorney Clayton.
Thanks. Two questions. One, first one, make sure board members can give NIL. I know there's a restriction on it. And my more important question is this, and we brought it up, I think I brought it up to Chairman Rutledge. Under this new phase, I've often said we should be able to hire our student athletes. We make them part-time employees. We make them sign non-compete clause. They won't go anywhere. But then the school can get a break, Mr. President. As an employee, we can get funding from them under this new scenario you're talking about. So think about that, because I've often been a proponent of let's just hire them. And if that parent can pick up an extra 15, 20 grand or whatever we might pay them, then that'll help that parent's income. And then I think we can get around this NIL deal by having them employees. And I see McClelland shaking his head. Either he's laughing at it or he's supporting it. But I hope it's going to be a lot of money. But we'll find the money some kind of way. What do you think about that?
Well, I've spent a lot of time on Capitol Hill talking about that exact subject. And there are some pros and cons of student athletes being employees that we'll really have to vet. Part of that is a lot of our student athletes, especially at the FCS level, receive financial aid as a part of their total compensation, which by definition means that they can't afford to go to school. If they become employees, they're going to have to pay taxes on that. And if they pay taxes on that, the institution is going to have to pay the corresponding tax to it. On top of that, one of the unintended consequences that we've identified is if they are employees and they receive those dollars, it could negate their ability to be able to get the financial aid that you're giving them via athletic scholarship. So it's got to be some give and take. We're looking at it. The name, image, and likeness process is probably the best process for the student athletes, but the employee piece of it is something that we're still going to have to vet and try to work out because there's just so many unintended consequences that we're looking at. Thank you for your time.
Any other questions? Thank you again, Commissioner.